Kia ora, you're listening to Crossing Currents, Aotearoa New Zealand Artists in Venice, a podcast series by Contemporary Hum produced with the support of Creative New Zealand. In this series, we'll be interviewing the Aotearoa artists presenting at the 60th Venice Biennale and its parallel events. I'm Elena Kafka, Managing Director of Contemporary Hum. In this episode, I speak with this year's Golden Lion Award winners Mataaho Collective, whose work Takapau is featured in the 60th International Exhibition of the Venice Biennale, titled Stranieri Ovunque, Foreigners Everywhere, and curated by Adriano Pedrosa. The 60th Venice Biennale is a historic edition for Aotearoa New Zealand. Not only is there no national pavilion this year, which is only the second time there hasn't been a New Zealand pavilion since Aotearoa began participating in the Biennale in 2001, but the curated section features the most artists from Aotearoa to ever be included. Together, the 4 artists and 1 collective represent an intergenerational mix of Māori artists, and to top it off, Mataaho Collective was awarded the Golden Lion for the best participant in the international exhibition out of over 300 participating artists. We recorded this episode with Mataaho Collective after the busy fanfare of the Biennale's opening week when they had returned to Aotearoa, but while we were in Venice, we also spoke with artist, writer and researcher Rychèl Thérin about the collective's educational trajectory and the grounding of their practice within Mātauranga Māori, or the body of knowledge originating from Māori ancestors. You'll hear from her in the middle of the episode.
Kia ora, I'm Tere Tetau. I live in Pohangina village in the Manawatu, and I'm from the Wairarapa from Rangitane, Ngāti Kahungunu.
Kia ora, I'm Sarah. I'm from Ngāti Awa, Ngai Tūhoia, Ngāti Pūkeko, and I'm here in Whakatane tonight.
Kia ora, I'm Erena. I live in Manawatu in Palmerston North, and I'm from Te Atiawa ki Whakarongotai, Ngāti Tōrangatira and Te Atiawa in the Kapiti Coast.
We've also got another member, Bridget Lewity, who's in Ōtepoti. She's on maternity leave at the moment after the birth of her baby last month.
Kia ora. Oh, awesome. Thank you, guys. So Contemporary Hum has sort of followed you from your inclusion in Documenta in 2017, Dhaka Art Summit in Bangladesh in 2019, and then now in 2024, you've been awarded the Golden Lion for the best participant in the international exhibition at the Venice Biennale, which is one of the most prestigious art awards in the world. How has everything been for you since coming back to Aotearoa?
It's been good. We've taken the last month or so, I guess, to rest and recover after a really intense first half of the year, getting ready to go to Venice to install. It was the second time we were installing Takapau, but there were still a lot of unknowns. So yeah, we're just kind of pinching ourselves going, it's already June in 2024. How can that be? Where did the year go? But a bit of kind of nice, wintry, reflective mole time coming back home.
Yeah. It was so nice. People were reaching out, friends and family, and sending their congratulations and things. And we haven't yet been able to get together and celebrate as a group, but we're hoping to at the end of the year.
But yeah, maybe in terms of timelines, maybe it will sink in by the time November comes and we're bringing Takapau back down again.
Oh, yeah. So you'll need to go back to Venice to deinstall.
They would like us to. It's such a complicated install. It's definitely going to be quite a complicated deinstall. So, and we would love that. We would love to be able to go back.
Oh, that would be really special. So as you say, it's the second time you've installed this work. So the first iteration was in Te Papa in 2022, And the curator of Foreigners Everywhere, the international exhibition of the Biennale, Adriano Pedrosa, when he was in Aotearoa in 2023, he saw your work. Could you tell us about what it was like meeting him and how that led to Takapau being included in the Biennale?
Yeah, definitely. We didn't actually get to meet Adriano when he came to New Zealand. He he obviously saw the work, and then he reached out to us via email, and after he'd returned, and asked first if we'd like to meet. And it was just a really brief email which said something along the lines of, I'm curating the Venice Biennale and would like to discuss Takapau being included in it. But we all kind of didn't read the email in a way that was exactly what he was asking. Kind of blasé went into a Zoom with the curator of the Venice Biennale, just wondering what he wanted to talk to us about. It really didn't sink in, but so yeah, that's really what happened. And as negotiations and discussions over the feasibility of whether that work could go there happened, it wasn't until quite further down the track that we all kind of looked at each other and said, "Oh, are we actually going to be in the Venice Biennale?" And it wasn't because of anything that they were saying. They were definitely clear about it, but it just it took a while to sink in.
It definitely did, I think. Also, the amount of engineering and infrastructure that had to be green-lit for it to go ahead. It was massive. We weren't able to attach to the floor, the walls, the ceiling, or the columns. And it's a heavy, big bit of engineering, that work. So, yeah, there was lots of to and fro between Aotearoa and the Venice team as to how this would work. We had heaps of faith that it would, but Adriano really pushed for that work to be there. In the entrance, he saw it at Te Papa and could envision it in his show. And yeah, really advocated for us to have the space that would really showcase our work in the best way.
It's so cool to think how he saw the work at Te Papa, kind of thought about it in the way that we intended conceptually, that it was a threshold, an entranceway, a place that you cross from one space to another. And I guess at that point he probably visualized it for that particular space too, and it was so nice to think that that translated for him.
Yeah, it was cool. It's like knowing that he definitely understood the work and what we were trying to say with the work initially at Te Papa, and for that to only add to the opening and the entranceway of the Venice Biennale curated exhibition in the Arsenale.
Yeah, so it's right at the entrance of the Arsenale. So as you walk in, it's right after a work by Yinka Shonibare. And it's this massive, almost kind of wharenui sort of like structure. And you were talking before, Sarah, about the logistics, that you had to, really quite complicated logistics you had to take in consideration when, I guess, transforming in a way the work to fit the space. So in what ways did it really have to change in order to fit the parameters of that space in the Arsenale?
Yeah, we didn't see the specs of the room until a couple of meetings in. So like the initial ones were like, we have this work, it's about 12 meters wide, 24 meters long, it can be from 4 meters high. And then down the line we got shown where it may be in the Arsenale, and there were these columns there that were pretty intimidating to us. Like, Takapau in some regards represents te whare tangata, like a womb, a kind of very feminine space. We were taken aback by the look of these kind of phallic forms potentially bursting through intricate weaving. I think in one meeting we said like, would you like another work? Like it was like quite full on for us conceptually to wrestle with what that might look like. After amazing designers and engineers had a look and sent us some models, we ended up flipping the work around so nothing was piercing it through the pattern. And I think that it really brought out the architectural power of the weaving. It definitely feels like a whare with those 4 columns connected to the ground. It's changed the work quite a bit from that first iteration at Te Papa.
Yeah, another thing that's really different about the work in Venice as opposed to when it was installed at Te Papa is the pitch of the roof, or the kind of the woven part. So it's much steeper and also creates more of a kind of cathedral-like or whare tupuna kind of space. And the po in the corners of the room, act like the 4 corners or the pillars of the whare holding it up. So it has more of a feeling of being a whare tangata. But one of the most exciting changes about the work is the fact that at Te Papa you were able to view the work from the top. There was a walkway where you could see on top of the work. And here we had to think about how the way you moved around the work changes with only being able to walk underneath it. And so we made the call to flip the work, which was predominantly reflective on the top side at Te Papa, which talks about the world of light and acknowledging the difference between Te Ao Marama and Te Pō, which was the area under the darkened space underneath the work. So the work is flipped, the weaving's flipped, and the reflective sides of the strapping and the woven pieces are down, and the work takes on a whole other presence in Venice. It's reflective tape is made to be seen in the dark in low light situations, and so the work really shines in a new way because it's so low lit underneath it. Yeah, the lighting's really exciting in the iteration of this work in Venice. It's stronger and it's bolder. And it's nice that it's not better, but it's just nice that it's different. It's like a 2.0 kind of thing.
And the work that you mentioned before, Elena, as you walk into the front entrance by Yenka Shonibia.
Yes.
The person they're a traveller, and it's like they're kind of walking into this new experience. Somewhere that they may be, because the title is Foreigners Everywhere, and so you get this real sense of people moving from one place to another. Yeah, that real either transient or going somewhere to settle, just a discovery. And so it was quite exciting to have that work in the entrance as well.
Yeah, totally. I know in the work at Te Papa, that work really came into being in response to the whāriki, the woven mats in the Te Papa collection. Did Takapau in the Biennale, does it still to you sort of carry that resonance with whāriki, or has it moved into something quite a bit different?
I think that feeling of tension in the work comes through quite strong, I think, in that context, because as communities, to get anything to happen, it's a lot of people working together in kind of synchronized and sometimes quite messy ways, but there's this tension that holds everything together. And yes, the whāriki element is very important because that's where we draw the inspiration from, that's where the patterns come from. But yeah, that aspect of it, I think, especially because of the low light conditions, you can really feel it quite strongly there, I think.
I think the whāriki element is definitely still strong. That's what the work is about. It's about acknowledging this taonga that our ancestors revered as something that could delineate space, acknowledge space and ceremony. And I think that's what we like to do. When you're looking at installation art, it's one of the few taonga that does that, has a function in the work acknowledges, the most fine and significant mats to Māori Takapau, once used during ceremonies of birth and marriage and death. And at Te Papa, it spread and filled the space, and it does that still here in Venice.
Yeah, it's sort of amazing that I remember seeing Takapau at Te Papa, and it seemed so perfect for that space, and then in the Biennale it's so perfect in the space of the Arsenale as well. Both equally strong, but like having that kind of response to the sort of site without losing the sort of core kind of meaning is just really, really amazing. I wanted to ask, I guess on a more kind of logistical level, what it was like transporting and installing such a large scale work.
Yeah, wonderfully, this work is in the collection of Te Papa. So the conservatory team there did an amazing job of devising a system that would help us at the other end to make everything make sense, because the work isn't deinstalled as simply as just like unhooking all the hooks and fling it in a box. Every single strap gets unwoven, wound up, they're all labelled, they're all numbered, each one has their own place, which is quite a complicated undertaking. In terms of shipping over there, Te Papa only brought down the work maybe in January or February from where it was in Pōneke, so they flew it over there. Those boxes were there to greet us, and yeah, we got to it.
We're really lucky and thankful that the boxes were there to greet us, because we know that's not always the case. And other artists around us were scrambling, bringing customs and things, trying to find their work to install it.
And so we, when we were in Venice, we spoke with artist, researcher, and writer Rychèl Thérin, and she told us the story when she was in the space. She was just hanging around listening to people, and she overheard a couple of women who came into the space, and the first thing they said is, they sort of read the label, and the first thing they say is, "Oh, this isn't Indigenous." But then they say, "Oh, but I love the reflective tape." And then, "Oh, I love this and I love that." And they kind of go on like this. So I wonder, because you've exhibited your work overseas so many times, how it is you approach presenting your work to audiences who aren't familiar with mātauranga Māori or te ao Māori, and maybe who sort of might be surprised by a challenge to maybe what they have as kind of stereotypical ideas of what Indigenous art is.
Yeah, this is something that we wānanga about all the time, but quite extensively in the beginning. Like our first work to go overseas was Kiko Moana for Documenta in 2017, and we thought heaps about what does it mean? What does it mean to present a contemporary work that's grounded in te ao Māori to an audience that is not coming from that context at all? And from all of that thinking and discussions, we kind of came to a conclusion that we will always make Māori work. Like there's no kind of there's no option there for us. We're always going to make contemporary Māori work that's grounded in mātauranga Māori, and what we also want to do is create beautiful work that's engaging, and no matter kind of what you're bringing, wherever you're from, hopefully there's something that can engage you for a certain amount of time. And also, if not, no problem too, because we don't actually want to make art for everyone. That would be too much to ask for, I think. But what we will do is present it to a level that we're really happy with, and hopefully that at some level people can engage.
And it's great too, I think, if it does challenge people's perceptions. That's the cool thing about being at exhibitions with people from a lot of different places, that you're presented with these different stories and different backgrounds and histories that inform that artwork. And there's a lot of work that I've seen that's at the exhibitions that we've been really lucky to be a part of, that's really helped to change my way of thinking around certain things and assumptions that I had. And so it's good.
Yeah, and it's no different to it being in Aotearoa and exhibiting our work. So often someone may come and interface with the work and could say exactly the same thing, but we're making Māori art because we're full Māori women, and this is the art we make, so that makes it that. But the works also always that we make together as Mataaho look to a continuum of innovation. We're inspired by the customary works of our ancestors, but are applying the techniques and methods and materials to how we live today, and materials that we face and see and connect with here and now. I mean, in essence, making work is storytelling, and making installation work is about creating an immersive experience for people. And so you don't need to know any of that really to get something from a work. It may be the material that brings you in, it may be the fact that you're interested in customary weaving, it may be the fact that you like the way the light plays. There's so many different ways that anyone can interact with work.
Yeah, and I think something that your work and Takapau really does is it just makes space for people. Like, I think there's a real sense when you're in that room with Takapau that there's room for you, and it doesn't matter, or not that it doesn't matter, but I think there's space given to the viewer to bring what they bring to the work and to experience it in that way. And I think that's such a big part of the work's kind of impact as well.
Our footprint in the Biennale is a privilege. Like, there is a big chunk of space that we've been given. Our mentor, Dr. Maureen Lander, has always encouraged us as installation artists to protect our space, to know who's going to be where around us, and what do those relationships bring to the reading of our work. So to kind of show in the Arsenale, with that amount of space allocated / that amount of space we can give back, was such a pleasure.
Yeah, and mind-blowing. Like, I still can't really comprehend how many people have already and will over the next few months walk under our work and experience it. I mean, all we do is make it, and then it's up to everyone else to kind of activate it and to bring life to it and to experience it. We don't usually get to see that. Sometimes if we're around, we might hang out and watch people working through the work. But usually we go home, and then it's everyone else gets to experience it.
My name's Rychèl Thérin. I am an artist and researcher and writer of Māori and Charier heritage. I have a BA in painting from the University of Arts London and finished my Masters in Māori Visual Art at Te Reo Hoki Apati in 2012. Mother with 2 children, and I live in Vienna in Austria. I've written a paper called Manawahine and the Mataaho Collective, the power of collectivity and how we feed our roots. And basically it's looking at the practice of Mataaho, how it started, like 4 mates that just wanted to make art together, and whose kind of research interests kind of had so many crossovers, like a really interesting Venn diagram that kind of then brought them together. And with that first work that they made, Te Whare Pora, it kind of started essentially like the main thread of practice that they have continued to do for the last like 12 years, where they take experiences of Māori wahine and use them, whether they're talking about goddesses or Māori, the experiences of Māori women or the experiences of Māori female artists or whatever, like that. Māori women's experiences are always at the beginning of wherever they go with their work. And then there's also the idea of the wānanga, which is, you know, Te Whare Pora is like the house of weaving, which is the house of women, although, you know, now it's wider. But nonetheless, there is something about this coming together and collectively making things for a community that is, in essence, what Mataaho do. I think there needs to be a nod to the kind of educational trajectory that everyone in Mataaho has taken. 3 of them have studied under Bob Bianche on who's also showing here, which has a whole which brings a really amazing idea of lineage and generationality to the group of New Zealand artists that have come from here. And I think for Mataaho to be showing alongside Bob Bianche and Fred Graham and Sandy Adsa and also Brett is just wonderful, because it shows a trajectory of Māori contemporary art from the 50s up until now. And I think when you look at it all together, you can kind of see not only does it stand on an international platform, like at an international level, but then also you can kind of start to see the whakapapa of that. What's particularly interesting with Mataaho, and I suppose how they've come to be here now, is going through the Toyo Hoki Apati program with Bob. He really has grounded that program from the BMBA to the MMBA to the PhD in Mātauranga Māori. And, you know, like the whole program takes a kind of Māori standpoint on what education is. You know, literally anyone who's anyone in Māori art has taught on that program. I think even that in itself is a way of bringing people along, and a way of giving access to young Māori creatives to say, like, this is a possibility and these are different ways in which you need to do it. On the wider kind of exhibition scale of Bob being here with Mataaho, it really speaks to the fact that we, well, can only talk for Māori artists, but it is a circular lineage of art making that is happening, and older artists are working with younger artists, and it's not that there's an us and them situation. It is like everyone is bringing each other along together, which is really beautiful.
On the topic of mentorship, Irina and Terry, and also Bridget, who's not with us today, not here. So you were all taught by Robert Yonke, who is also exhibiting in Venice at the same time, but not as a part of the Biennale, but in Personal Structures, this parallel event. What is that like for you to be exhibiting, not necessarily alongside, but kind of in the same sort of context as one of your teachers, one of your mentors?
It's very special. I don't even know how to put words to it because it feels so surreal. Because, you know, as young aspiring artists, you know, like these were people that we looked to for guidance, and, you know, being able to be there with them on that journey now is, kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. Like, for me, I was most excited at the fact that Bob was going to be there. It meant that he could be there and see the work. And we could maybe hang out with him, have a meal with him in Venice. That's the most exciting thing. To me, Bob's like an uncle, and you're just excited that they're going to see what you're doing and that you can see what they're doing too. You know, we always talk about relationships in Māoridom, tuakana taina relationships, or relationships between a student and a mentor. And it's nice to know that, was comforting to know he was there, but also to know, I guess we learn so much from him, but he also learns from us and experiences things through what you experience. It's like your children, you experience things through what they do as well. I don't think he ever thought and set out to create students that were going to be exhibiting in the Venice Biennale, but I bet it feels nice, just like it feels great for us to exhibit alongside him in Venice.
He's just got this knack of really seeing something in, you know, the work that you do, and giving you a lot of confidence and a lot of faith that you can embark on something and finish it. So yeah, I'm really grateful to him for that, and sort of helping me to have those opportunities and helping us, because without those people we wouldn't be able to do what we're doing. So they're really integral.
Yeah, we don't go on our own. Yeah, we'd bring these people with us anyway. There's so many other people that have taught us and that have been working so hard as contemporary Māori artists before us, that we were bringing along the journey in our hearts and minds and thoughts anyway. There's so many people that have opened doors for us. It was cool also, I like it to have be exhibiting in the same building, and just, you know, through the doorway from our work is Brett Graham and Fred Graham's work, and to be exhibiting alongside them is like they're superstars to us.
Yeah, we felt the whakapapa, definitely being surrounded. It felt like we were surrounded by these amazing rangatoe Māori, and being acknowledged simultaneously was really exciting. And I think also made us excited for the future, what else is coming along that whakapapa line.
Yeah, who's coming up next behind us?
So things look quite different for Aotearoa at the Biennale this year. There are the most artists from Aotearoa to ever participate in the Biennale at once, but there isn't a national pavilion. Creative New Zealand supported you to bring your work over to Venice, but in general, the distribution of funds has been different compared to a pavilion year, given the number of Aotearoa artists who are presenting. So I was just wondering, in terms of funding infrastructure, whether maybe you could offer some reflections on the current state of public funding in New Zealand?
We love collective life, and I think that institutions also like the idea of collective life. Like, it's really romantic sometimes and interesting, and different to that kind of individual model. But the infrastructure isn't there to support collective life, really, yet. Even though, yeah, like I said, this is nothing new. Weavers and carvers, Indigenous peeps all over have been working collectively forever, but the institutional infrastructure does not support it financially. Conceptually, cool. Sweet as. But yeah.
I was just thinking how resourceful our communities are, from whether it's fundraising for kapahaka or uniforms and sports, like weavers, carvers, like making it happen. And it's incredible what people achieve on not very much. I'm just thinking how if that mahi was supported more, what could be achieved more. Yeah, it's a rough time at the moment, isn't it? So many people are losing their jobs. This work will continue, and it will be for the love of it and because people love coming together and doing things in collectives. But it's, hopefully not suffer too much, because people just give and give, don't they, just to get things across the line.
Yeah. Also really cognizant of that distribution of funds as well. I understand that what was allocated to the 8 of us this time round was a drop in the bucket compared to a pavilion year, which if that allocation of funds is going to other artists to support like multiple artists' careers and projects, that would be amazing. But things are shifting with funding allocations, and there will always be time for fundraising within community as well, because like Terry says, that we come from resourceful and supportive peeps.
So not only were you awarded the Golden Lion for the best participant in the international exhibition, but Archie Moore was awarded the Golden Lion for the best national presentation for Kith and Kin, which was in the Australian pavilion. So just to close, I wonder if you have any reflections on maybe what it means that this year was such a successful year on the global art world stage for Indigenous art.
For me, the initial reaction was just like, how cool is that? The Archie's work was one of the most standout works for me from what I saw in the Biennale. And when we walked into the Golden Lion ceremony, there was a special area where we sat, and you kind of knew that everyone was sitting in that area was going to get something. And we all kind of like knew that we didn't know what we were getting, but because we couldn't believe it. But I sat down behind Archie and I think whispered to the girls, he definitely got the pavilion. Like, it's a beautiful work. And I mean, it's awesome. How cool is it that those 2 top awards were taken out by Indigenous artists? But also, it's not surprising to me, because the world that I come from and live in and breathe, these people have been making amazingly strong, powerful works in our communities, Indigenous arts communities, for so long. And I guess it's now not having a time, because it's always had a time, but it's just being recognised and seen by a different group of people.
Yeah, it was amazing. We were watching the live Golden Lion ceremony when we were in Venice, and you just kind of can't really believe it, sort of like you say. And also work that I guess coming from Aotearoa, work you're so familiar with, and then to see it get that recognition, that's just a pretty amazing feeling. Yeah,
that was one of the loveliest parts of it, was that Takapau was up in Te Papa for a year, and Aotearoa got to see it first, which hasn't ever happened with any of our international pieces before. So that felt That felt huge. That felt amazing.
And we were given the link to send to some friends and family, but just moments beforehand. And so it's quite cool. We were just like sending messages home to say, we're getting an award, watch this link, to our family. So many of them did watch it, which is really cool.
Yeah, such a huge moment.
Like sometimes I felt quite shy about talking about it, like a little bit. And but that completely flipped on its head for me this week when I saw like there's these kids that I've done a little bit of weaving with during the kids' kapahaka sessions, and they'll just hang out with me and kind of do some stuff while I'm making stuff. And when I saw them, I was like, oh my God, you guys, guess what? We got this lion and here it is. And I just couldn't stop kind of gushing about it. And I just didn't have any shyness whatsoever about just like big noting this award to these guys, these like 10-year-old girls that are like just so open and excited and happy. And I'm like, I want this for you guys. Like I want these, whatever experiences you want to have. For them, it's probably going to be rugby, maybe.
Well, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, we definitely couldn't have got over to Venice, all four of us, without CNZ and Te Papa. That's been really huge. Just like, I guess, funding at the moment in Aotearoa is really a big contentious subject under this new government that's not that new anymore. And I think it will continue to be so for the next 3 years. So just really appreciative, but also aware of the environment at the moment is really hard out there for artists. So it's also, we feel that too. We've been feeling that for the last wee while. So just wanted to mihi to everyone who's coming through. It's craft, but it can be really amazing and worth it when you've got your people around you.
You've been listening to Crossing Currents, Aotearoa New Zealand Artists in Venice, an original podcast series by Contemporary Hum. Listen to Crossing Currents wherever you get your podcasts, or visit contemporaryhum.com for each episode, along with a transcript and images. Our thanks to Creative New Zealand for their support, Hamish Peterson for editing and mixing, Matariki Williams for cultural advisory, and Emma Kanyuk for design. Kia ora.